So, okay, so then the crazy 4-by-mile race.
Yeah, and Gohegan and Tiernan have separated. This could be a decisive move here. The pace really picking up second by second. Tiernan looks good hanging on. Let's see if Gohegan just has an entirely other gear here, because they'll have one lap to go before they hand off to the anchor.
And if anyone listening to this podcast doesn't know what race I'm talking about, we'll put a link in the description, because it's one of my all-time favorites. I go back and watch it like at least once a year because it's pretty epic. But I believe you were the third leg on that, and so like as the person watching your team race, like Ed versus Jordy versus all the rest of the field that, you know, caught up and was in contention, like what was going through your head as someone then like watching your teammate and watching that race come down, or, you know, go down, and like all the crazy, like basically stopping to walk in the middle of the race and then sprinting and everything that entailed, and ultimately, you know, spoiler, Villanova winning the race, and again taking down Ed, who was like basically unbeatable on the track that entire season. So yeah, what were you thinking as a person on the team in the stadium?
11:55 now, and Tiernan
moving up,
not getting dropped. We now watch the 12-minute mark. Let's see what we need to run.
How tactical. Oh, it's going to be a jog fest.
It's going to be a jog fest.
It's going to be an absolute jog fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I feel like half the listeners will be thinking, like, was Pat Tiernan even in that race? Yeah, no, it was. I remember initially when I handed the baton to Jordy, just being so pissed. I remember my teammates, Rob and Sam, both had the same look, because we busted our ass to run like right around 4 flat for 3 legs in a row. And then their first 100 meters was like 30 seconds. And we were just like, the fuck did we do that for? What a waste of time. And like, I was fighting for my, like, I think, who was it? Will Gohegan was running the Oregon League against me, and he ran like a 57-second lap on the third lap, which for me at the time was like a huge injection of pace. And so I am like fighting every bit of lactic acid to catch up to this guy to give him the baton. And then they both just start jogging. And I was like, I'm done with this. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Chaz is like really stopping. They're like, literally, no one wants to go. They are stopping on the track. They are stopping on the track.
Well, I've never seen this before.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? They are not running. They are running.
There goes Belay.
Yeah, thank you. Look at the crowd. Oh, wow. No. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. What is going on?
I've never seen that before. They almost started walking.
They literally started walking.
But no, to be honest with you, it was, that's still like top 5 for me, just because, one, you don't get to experience many team aspects in this sport. And I mean, I can count on one hand the number of relays I've been involved in, and it really is a really unique experience. So, the fact that I was able to share that with, you know, Jordy, he's one of my groomsmen for our wedding, so he's one of my best mates, and Sam and Rob are both going to be there as well, and people who you just, you know, we trained together for the better part of 2 years at that point, see each other every day and things like that. So, you know, to be able to share something like that with them is really special, especially when it's, you know, Penn Relays has always been a big deal at Villanova and still is. So, but no, as soon as Jordy went with Ed with 200 metres to go, I knew he was going to win it. Because the day before, which is, I think, the story that a lot of people don't know, is he lost the DMR to Ed, like basically the opposite way. Like Jordy made a move with 200 to go, Ed just followed him and then passed him in the last 50 metres. Like, it's literally, if you watch the 2 races, it's the same race, just the positions are switched. But Jordy came back from the DMR that afternoon, because we just catch the train to Villanova, from Villanova to Penn, and then back after the races and just stay in the dorms. And we were we roommates? Yeah, I think we were roommates. So he comes back into our room and I'm sitting there with Rob and Sam, and he just looks at me and he's like, get me the baton alongside him, and I'm going to fucking win this thing. And I was like, all right, cool. So that's why I'm busting my ass to get him this baton in line.
200 meters to go. Anything could happen.
McGordy cuts off Williamsz. Williamsz trying to catch Ches.
Oh, no.
Williamsz is looking good. Williamsz is sticking on him. Williamsz is trying to get redemption for what happened yesterday. It's Williamsz and Cheserek. 80 meters to go. Head to head. Williamsz trying to hold the Ches. Jordy Williamsz is your champion, ladies and gentlemen. Takes down Edward Cheserek. Villanova are your 4-by-mile champions. Wow.
But yeah, he covered the move, and something Jordy, I'll always respect about Jordy, is his mentality after a race that he didn't win, or that he was in and he just lost. He always had that drive to come back and win the next one, and learn from it, sort of thing. And I think that's it seems like a very common and simple trait to have, but I think it's pretty rare to actually be able to do it. And that's something he's always been able to do. And so, when he covered that move at 200 to go, I was like, Ed doesn't have the same drive as Jordy does right now. Like, that man will run a 10-second last 100 here if he has to. But yeah, so he's flying down the straight, and Sam's jumping around like a clown just after the finish line, and we're all there and crosses the line or whatever, and Sam and I are there, and we're looking around for Rob, and Rob's staring up at the board screaming and stuff like that, and eventually realises that we're all over there celebrating. So it was it was awesome. And like you said, Ed was on top of the world at that point. Like, I think it's hard to find a more dominant period for him than 2014 through to the end of 2015. So
for sure,
that was a great a great run from Jordy. But I think it was just all, we knew exactly what we had to do, and we knew we just had to get him the stick in striking distance, and he was going to bring it home for us.
In situations like that, I know, like, there's like the camp of people who always want to know, like, what was your time, or like, oh, that race sucked, they didn't run a PR, they didn't, run a world record or whatever. And then the other side that's like, no, racing is racing. Like, who cares about the time? So in that specific case, I mean, I know you're in the position where you're like, crap, I just worked my ass off, and basically it doesn't matter. This is basically just a Jordy versus Ed Ches like showdown, starting off with a 90-second first lap or whatever it was. But like the crowd, you can hear people like booing and going crazy, whatever. But to me, that was like one of the most exciting races ever. So I'm curious where you fall in this camp of, like, were they dogging it way too much where it's like, bad for the sport, or did you see it as exciting and like, oh, that was actually good for the sport? Because I think it was pretty good for the sport. I thought it was awesome.
Oh, it's so exciting. I mean, when you watch that race back, and I have watched that race back, it's easily one of the most exciting races you'll ever see. I mean, it sucks every time I watch it that I know what's going to happen, because I'm like, I wish I was experiencing this for the first time. But yeah, so if there's people who haven't watched it and don't know, like, just, yeah. But no, I think I was more pissed at the time because we dropped everyone else. Like, I didn't care about the time. It was just like, we got it down to we just had to beat Ed. And within a lap, there were 10 teams back in the mix. So it's just like, what do we even do here? But yeah, so no, it was, but no, so exciting. I mean, I think there's just so much that went into it. Like, now I feel like a lot of races are just fast from the gun, and people are hanging on. And if a move's made, it's, it's still exciting, but it's not necessarily it's not a lot of fireworks to it, I guess, or it doesn't look like it anymore. Like, I was watching that World Champs 15, and they closed in 54 still, but it didn't look, I don't know, it wasn't, to me, it didn't have the same sort of level of excitement as that race had. And I know my opinion's going to be biased with that for sure, because I had a lot more invested in it. But yeah, I think there was just like, you just didn't know what was going to happen at any point. And like, you know, I think there was the Georgetown bloke went to make a move at one point, and then his coach told him not to, and so it was just
he
like
just stops. Yeah.
Like you've never seen so many moves made in the span of a mile. Not even in Bix, that many moves made in a mile. But yeah, so no, it was crazy. But no, definitely. You know, I think everyone I talk to, the main thing is everyone I talk to has something to say about it. Whether they say it's good for the sport or bad for the sport, it's a race that everybody talks about. And I think at the end of the day, if you're talking about it, it can't be bad.